Hi everyone, welcome to Fox 10 News Now. Starting a minute earlier than anticipated, let's check out our Fox 10 Facebook update.
I'm John Hook with your Fox 10 Facebook update. A woman is attacked while jogging in Maricopa, and police hope this sketch will lead them to the suspect. Police say the woman was grabbed from behind and thrown to the ground near Maricopa Elementary. She fought the man off and called police. A suspect in an officer-involved shooting behind bars held on $1 million bond. According to court paperwork, Michael Rogers fired at the officer 3 times, striking the officer in his bulletproof vest, but also struck his arm, and the injuries are serious. Rogers told investigators he shot the officer because he didn't want to go back to jail. Surveillance video helps police shut down a retail theft ring in the valley. 7 people arrested, accused of stealing more than $50,000 of merchandise over the past 3 months. Police say the group targeted high-dollar items like designer handbags, clothing, and sunglasses. Some trouble for American Airlines. The airline was forced to ground flights today at 3 of the nation's largest airports because of a technology glitch. A handful of flights at Sky Harbor delayed because of that problem. Check out the forecast for the next 10 days. Temperatures creeping back into the triple digits by Sunday, and then we're in for a nice cool down. That's your Fox 10 Facebook update. I'm John Hook.
I love John Hook. I'm so glad he's back. He was gone for 2 weeks and it broke my heart, but I'm so happy that he's back. Troy Hayden's back. He was gone for a few days. I missed him. Twice this week he wasn't here. The struggle was real, but he's back with us. And in case you missed, Donald Trump in New Hampshire, because we didn't even know it was coming. One of those pleasant surprises. I'm going to re-cue that for you. So that's exciting. But I'll wait to do that. Let's look at some, before I go into Trump, let's do some local news, because you and I haven't done a lot of local news in the last few days. I felt like we did a lot of national stuff. Bye, Mikey. Are you leaving forever for today? Just for today. Okay. I love you. By Edgecombe. Let's look at some national stories, because you and I haven't gone over a lot of national stories this week, and I've got some good stuff for us. Oh, wow. We do have some good stuff. Let's go with some of our 5 o'clock. I love Kari's dress today. This is from our 5 p.m. broadcast with John Hook and Kari Lake. This is about a woman in the valley that was attacked while jogging. We've got the specifics on where it was located, so you know where to avoid and who to look out for.
First on Fox tonight, Maricopa police are going door to door, showing people this sketch, hoping to track down a suspect who attacked a woman while she was jogging.
Police say that the woman was grabbed from behind and tossed to the ground, all of it happening very close to an elementary school, which is creating even more concern. The attack happening Monday morning near Altera Parkway and Boland Road. And you can see here in Maricopa Elementary School, right next to where this attack happened, our Nicole Garcia joins us live tonight in Maricopa. She has the latest. Nicole.
Maricopa police canvassed the neighborhood earlier this morning, and right now they're getting ready to go door to door in that area, like you said, Boland Road and Altera Parkway. That's where a woman was attacked 2 days ago while she was jogging. And today, police just released a sketch of the suspect that they are looking for. Take a look. The suspect being described as a teenager between the ages of 17 and 19. Now, police say the victim actually jogged past the suspect. This all happened early Tuesday morning around 6 a.m. She jogged past the suspect, and after she ran past him, that's when police say he grabbed her from behind and then forced her to the ground. Now, the woman didn't go down without a fight. She was able to fight him off, and she got away. Now, the suspect was last seen running away toward the Desert Cedars subdivision. All of this happening right in front of an elementary school, and parents in that area are on edge. We spoke with one father who says he is keeping a closer eye on his daughters, knowing that this attacker is still out there.
I have 4 girls. That's why I'm down here picking them up from the bus stop.
So you wouldn't normally pick them up?
If I was home, but now I make sure that I am. As far as I know, it's the first time I've heard of anything like that, and it is normally a pretty quiet area, good for the kids, and that's definitely a scary thing, to think there's somebody out there, attacking women.
Now, again, that suspect described as a black teenager between the ages of 17 and 19 with a medium build. He was last seen wearing a gray T-shirt with pink sleeves and a backpack. And again, police are looking for more leads and more clues into this case, so they're getting ready to go door to door. They're going to ask neighbors for information, trying to identify and track down this suspect before he hurts anybody else. Reporting live, I'm Nicole Garcia, Fox 10 News.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Oh, look, Kari and I. What do you say? Jinx. She owes me a Coke because I said it first. Technically, she's not here. She just left for lunch, but Jinx.
Well, tonight we are learning new details about an officer-involved shooting near 12th Street and Campbell. The officer shot several times during a traffic stop. He survived, probably because of his bulletproof vest. But police tonight tell us he is facing a long recovery. Jessica Flores joins us live from police headquarters with the latest. In so many of these cases, if someone isn't killed, we tend to think it's not that serious. Often it is so serious, and that's the case tonight.
Yeah, John, we're not told much about the Phoenix police officer, but we do know he's about 40 years old, and he's been with the force here for 8 years. Now, he was shot during that traffic stop 3 times in the chest, arm, and hip, and that did not obviously kill him, and his jacket probably saved his life. But Phoenix police say today that he's facing a long recovery ahead and that he may never regain feeling in his hand. Here's 26-year-old Michael Rogers facing a judge.
Michael James Rogers.
He's accused of shooting a Phoenix police officer 3 times during a traffic stop before speeding off. His motive, according to court documents, he didn't want to go to jail. Rogers had an outstanding warrant for shoplifting. The judge discusses the officer's injuries.
His bicep was shattered, and he's currently unable to move his fingers and is expected to have a significant and extensive recovery period.
Phoenix police say the license plate number on Rogers' vehicle led them to this apartment, where they saw another man leaving with a backpack and a black box. Phoenix police say when interviewed, that man admitted he and his girlfriend were inside the car during the shooting and that Rogers was at the couple's apartment just 1 block from the scene. According to court documents, the man told police he was picking up money and drugs for Rogers' planned getaway. Investigators say the suspect was hiding out inside this apartment for about 12 hours. And according to court records, this is where he was watching the news and found out that the officer survived. A neighbor took video through his screen door as officers closed in on the suspect.
You come out with your hands visible, nothing in your weapons. No weapons in your hand.
When he did come out, they handcuffed him and they politely took him to the car, and that was it.
Rogers faces several charges, one of those being aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The judge has set bond for $1 million. Reporting live in Phoenix, I'm Jessica Flores, Fox 10 News.
And we had mentioned in our editorial meeting how ridiculous that story was. The guy shoots a cop, somebody is passing by, sees the suspect, actually can report to the police and give them a pretty good description of the subject. The guy had just purchased the car, but had fake plates on the car. However, when he abandoned the car, it still had the VIN number connected to his apartment. A friend going into his apartment for, I believe, allegedly drugs. Police grab him as he's exiting the apartment, and then the friend totally gives him up. And criminals, not even remotely sly, not even remotely going to get away with it. Ridiculous, unfortunate, and unnecessary. Let's see. Let's stay in local.
Just in tonight, the Phoenix police officer who shot and killed a mentally ill woman will face a disciplinary review board. We've learned now that just in tonight, the Phoenix police officer who shot and killed a mentally ill woman will face a disciplinary review board. We've learned now that Officer Percy Dupras shot and killed Michelle Cousseau in August of 2014. We knew that But the 19-year-old veteran told investigators Cousseau was coming at him with a claw hammer when he opened fire. This led to some outrage within the African-American community in town. People felt that this was unjustified, but the incident was reviewed by the Phoenix PD Department's use of force, and they decided that Percy did not comply with department policy during this incident. So he will now face a disciplinary board. He could face suspension, demotion, or he could lose his job.
Interesting. What do you think? Tell me in the chat room whether you think he should, what did he say? Suspension, demotion, or could completely lose his job. I'd like to know what your thoughts are in the chat room.
New at 5, Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio announcing a new countywide drug operation. The sheriff says Operation No Drug Bust Too Small will enlist the help of deputies, intelligence analysts, and posse volunteers. The goal is to arrest drug dealers on the streets who are dealing every illegal drug from marijuana to heroin.
In recent years, we all want to get the big guys. Well, we got to get the street dealers to selling to our kids, causing havoc.
Sheriff Arpaio says the operation is expected to last 3 months.
Well, Troy, a plane crashes at Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport after returning from a test flight. Officials say this A-4 fighter, the front landing gear collapsed. It failed. The plane's nose hit the runway, and then the plane skid. It caused a fire. Eventually it came to a stop and crews were able to put out the fire. The pilot, by the way, was not hurt. Well, there were a lot of frustrated passengers at airports across the country today as American Airlines dealt with some big computer problems. Planes were grounded in Dallas, Chicago, and Miami after the airline had what it described as connectivity issues.
So glad I wasn't flying today, aren't you? The problem was resolved finally this afternoon, but that was too late for a lot of passengers. Many were left stranded or stuck on planes. Troy Hayden talked to a Valley man who had a very frustrating day. Troy.
It was a long day, and this man's name is Chris Stewart. He and his wife were supposed to leave at 8:40 this morning from Sky Harbor, flying to Miami for a Caribbean vacation. So they're in a great mood. But then things didn't go as planned at all. So they got on the plane, and Chris sent us these pictures taken after they were stuck on the plane on the tarmac, going nowhere for 2 hours. So then they were allowed to go back into the terminal. And then just before noon, the airline said, okay, we're ready to go again, loaded everybody back on the plane. And then they sat there again for another 2 hours, still going nowhere. And I talked to Chris on the phone as he was stuck the second time.
It's hot and it smells and we're thirsty and hungry. There's no communication. My wife tried to call customer service and they hung up on her.
Not a good experience.
Not a very good experience at all.
So Chris said when they got off the plane, there were several police officers at the gate waiting for them because they were told some of the passengers were unruly. But Chris said there were no big problems. He and his wife were able to get another flight to Florida, but they lost a day of their vacation and all this. Reporting live, Troy Hayden, Fox 10 News.
Thanks, Troy. A plane.
Oh, I would be so livid. I'm traveling this weekend and I would die if that were to happen to me. I don't like being in airplanes to begin with, and to be in an airplane stuck. Well, actually, one of the last times I did fly, I went to Los Angeles and we were on the tarmac for 45 minutes, and it's warm. And he's right, they don't serve you water or food or anything. And 45 minutes is nothing, I get that. But compared to a lot of other incidents lately, but it's still horrific. So I feel for those people.
Alumni back in the Valley for a very important cause. Alicia Stillham, she suffered a tragic loss when her very own college-age daughter suddenly died of meningitis B, even though the 19-year-old had been vaccinated for it twice. Stillman is now spreading awareness about what was once a disease that few people knew about or even worried about. Anita Roman has the story.
I got a phone call on a Thursday night, January 31st. Mom, I have a headache. And I said, what do you think you have a headache for? It's flu season. I'll bet you're coming down with the flu.
In less than 48 hours after receiving that phone call, Alicia Stillman's 19-year-old daughter died. The cause? Brain swelling from meningitis.
There are 5 strains that we see in the United States: A, B, C, W, and Y. And the conjugate vaccine protects against 4 of them, and B is the one that it's not protected against.
Stillman had vaccinated all of her children with the vaccines available here in the U.S. As it turned out, there was no vaccine for the strain that took her daughter's life.
And it really wasn't until a few months after Emily died, and there was an outbreak in Princeton, and then there was an outbreak at UC Santa Barbara that really called the media's attention to this, and then people turned to the FDA and said, so what are we doing about this?
Stillman took action herself, organizing bus trips to Canada where a vaccine for meningitis B was available. She started the Emily Stillman Foundation, worked with the FDA directly, and lobbied Congress for change. In October of 2014, the first series of vaccines in the U.S. for meningitis B, according to Stillman, was approved for ages 10 to 25. In January of 2015, a second series was approved. And then Stillman took her fight to the next level, testifying in front of the American Committee of Immunization Practices, which finally made the vaccine available to people ages 16 to 23, regardless of an outbreak or autoimmune disorder.
What's called a Category B recommendation, which isn't as good as we really would like. However, it makes it available to everybody.
Everybody includes college students who are most at risk. Stillman is making sure her own alma mater, ASU, provides it. In February, it will be 3 years since Emily got sick. A lot has changed so far, but her mom vows there is more to come, more lives to save.
I will not be done. My work will not be done until meningococcal disease is eradicated. And we can do it. Polio is eradicated. Smallpox is eradicated.
Anita Roman, Fox 10 News.
The Emily Stillman Foundation provides information on vaccines and meningitis B. We have a link on our website, fox10phoenix.com.
Tempe police are on the lookout for suspects after a string of car arsons. Now, all of the crimes have taken place on Broadway Road, right between McClintock and Price, right here. That's been the area they're concerned about. Marcy Jones is live in Tempe, where investigators are trying to find some answers tonight. Marcy.
That's right, John and Kari. I just got off the phone with Tempe police, who's telling me that this is very much an active investigation and that all 7 arson incidents are linked, and that whoever is doing this is targeting very condensed, occupied areas, which is a very scary thing. 7 cars on fire in just 30 days, many of them blocks apart. Tempe police have confirmed 3 of these vehicle arson incidents have happened in apartment complex parking lots. 3 have been in single-family home driveways, and 1 was in a business parking lot. We spoke to neighbors right in the thick of where many of these incidents have occurred on Shannon Drive and East Broadway Road. They tell us that this is usually a quiet neighborhood, but it wasn't noise that caught this neighbor's attention. It was a smell.
We came out and you could smell the plastic, because apparently that's what the front of the car is made out of, and you could see the whole front end of the car was burned. I mean, there were pieces on the ground and the whole front was black. That was a shock. I was really surprised when we got up and saw that, because we hadn't heard about these others 6.
Now, police also tell me something that you can do to kind of fend off some of these acts is make it look like you're home. A lot of these have been happening overnight, so flip on the porch lights, the outside lights, and let people know that you are at your home. And of course, if you see any suspicious behavior, report that immediately. Live in Tempe, Marcy Jones, Fox 10 News.
And a lot of people in the chat room and over Twitter, at KenzieFox10. Oh, look, it's right there on the screen. Sound effect. Have asked me about what is the status of the I-10 shootings. I believe it's been an entire week since we've had anything that has been confirmed to be associated with that investigation. But I do have some of our packages from this week, kind of a little recap of some of the I-10 packages we have over the week to catch some of you up that have missed the story or any updates in the story. Because again, the last few days we haven't done much local. We've done a lot of national with the debate and everything.
True that these copycat offenders are not connected to the freeway shootings, but They are all in trouble. DPS says Albert German, Chris Cook, and Aaron Nottingham admitted to hitting cars and people with rocks from slingshots. All this happening over the weekend in Mesa and Queen Creek. DPS was called about some shattered car windows in the Far East Valley. More than half a dozen cars and people were hit. A man and his wife traveling between Power and Ellsworth when their driver's side window was shattered. The suspect's car was tracked down in a Chandler neighborhood. The teens are charged with criminal damage, assault, and endangerment, and another 18-year-old boy is also being investigated.
I wanted to apologize. I didn't mean for anybody to get hurt or for anybody to be scared. I didn't want anybody's vehicles to be damaged. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Everyone is calling us the copycat I-10 shooter. That is not true. We're just a few teenagers going out and having fun, made a stupid decision, and we ended up here. I actually got a lot of threats the first time I was in my pod, and I had one of the inmates had given me a warning saying that the other inmates didn't like me there, and he told me that he recommended me to go and stay somewhere else.
Nottingham says he dropped out of high school, he is homeless, and he is living in his car. Reporting live, Steve Kraft, Fox 10 News.
Freeway shooting. DPS announcing today they will begin reaching out directly to the community, hoping to generate leads in that series of shootings along Valley freeways.
The shootings have left drivers on edge. There's a lot of fear out there, and some people are avoiding the freeways altogether.
Now, to date, we know there have been 11 incidents linked to the freeway shooter or shooters, mostly along that I-10 corridor. Troy Hayden joins us now live with more on how DPS is trying to raise awareness in the community about all of this.
They're doing quite a bit, John, but let's start with the good news here. We've had no freeway shootings since Thursday of last week. DPS, though, still going at this investigation full bore. They're working with Phoenix police, and they're handing out these flyers beginning in neighborhoods right near I-10. They have hotline information on them, details about the shootings, hoping to bring somebody forward with some information. Yesterday, DPS announced the reward in the case increased to $50,000, and patrols are beefed up along freeways. Troopers still actively investigating about 550 tips that came into that hotline. DPS, they say they don't know why the shooting stopped last week, but spokesman Bart Graves says they believe the suspect is still out there.
We are continuing full bore with our investigation. 24 hours a day, these people that are working the investigation are detectives. A lot of them are working without sleep. A lot of them are just following up every lead that they're assigned and maintaining relationships with their contacts. And this investigation by no means is over.
DPS also confirmed that troopers looked into 3 incidents where windshields were shattered down in the Tucson area. They have determined those were not shootings, but caused by road debris instead. Reporting live, Troy Hayden, Fox 10 News.
The owners of Enchiladas making light of the event with a piñata in the image of GOP frontrunner Donald Trump.
He's just an icon that everybody happens to be watching. So we kind of fed on that, as well as Mexican Independence Day. And
the GOP debate playing on the restaurant's TVs as customers dined and drank, not so much taking in the politics, but taking in the show as if it was entertainment. One customer who's visiting from China and is not familiar with American politics didn't realize she was watching a presidential debate.
My girlfriend is Chinese, and her question was, is this a game show? Which I thought was perfect.
Many people say they're tuning in to hear the insults and see the sparks fly.
So much of this is superficial that people have to dig a little deeper to figure out what they're going to do and what's best for the country.
Hi, I'm Ben Carson.
Members of the Arizona Republican Party gathering at a Scottsdale movie theater, watching the debate like they'd watch a movie premiere. Party leaders say the characters in this feature have certainly drawn in many people who wouldn't normally watch the debate.
So the energy is remarkably different. I wouldn't necessarily say it's games. There is some gamesmanship, but that's okay. I mean, politics is a full contact sport. People get excited about politics like they get involved with watching a sporting event. So now they find their favorites and they dig in, and that's what we're seeing happening right now.
New at 5, more drama involving a battle between Diane Douglas and the State Board of Education. The superintendent of public instruction skipped out on today's special meeting. The board voted unanimously to sue Douglas. Meanwhile, Douglas continues to press forward with an assault investigation that she launched against the board president. Nicole Garcia live with today's development. Sounds more like the plot in a soap opera.
It really does, Carrie. Lawsuits, an allegation of assault, boycotting of meetings, and reassigning of seats. That's what's coming out of the squabbling between Diane Douglas and the Board of Education. Douglas decided to skip today's meeting because she says the president is, quote, unable to control his temper. Meanwhile, the board voted to file a lawsuit against Douglas.
Her not showing up today was continued political grandstanding with regard to what she's trying to do.
State Board of Education members fed up with Diane Douglas and are poised to take her to court, threatening to file a lawsuit against her if she doesn't comply with their decisions. Douglas already filed her own lawsuit against the board, which has since been dismissed. And today, the board president responding to allegations that he assaulted Douglas during this exchange last month.
Mr. President, I am not. Please take your hands off me.
I did not grab her. I did not touch her. I did not do any of those things that she said.
DPS has interviewed Miller and says it is still in the process of reviewing the report that was taken. Miller moved Douglas's seat at the board further away from him. The executive director and executive assistant to the board both announcing their resignations. Meanwhile, Douglas has until Wednesday to comply with the board's orders on remote access to teachers' files and the board's website before the board files their lawsuit.
The superintendent is getting in the way of moving forward.
And Diane Douglas just released a statement regarding her chair being moved. She used to sit right next to the board president, and he moved her chair further away. In a memo to the board president today, she says, quote, I will not move from the superintendent's chair because you are unable to control your temper. If you strike me, grip my arm in anger, or yank away my microphone again, you will once more face assault charges. I'm requesting that a law enforcement officer be present at all future meetings, unquote. Reporting live, I'm Nicole Garcia, Fox 10 News.
A lot to deal with, a lot of drama there. I mean, that's our reality show. That is Arizona's reality show. That is some quality drama right there. Perhaps we need to start recording all of those meetings next to the requested security. It's just exhausting.
A Valley teenager gets a little too close, way too close to a rattlesnake, and tonight he's recovering in the hospital after getting a very painful bite to his leg.
Now, the boy says at first he had no idea he'd been bitten by a snake at all. Mark Martinez has been looking into it. He joins us live with the story. What happened?
Well, that teenager was out with a few friends on Sunday. Let's show you the area that we're talking about. It's in the Northwest Valley. They were out here near 67th Avenue in Jomax. And as you can see from our map here, it's where the open desert meets a lot of these homes. The boy and his friends lived in this neighborhood. So they're out having a good time. They decide to head back home, and that's when he accidentally stepped on a rattlesnake. The thing is, he had no idea it happened until his foot started swelling up hours later.
Determined.
Instead of spending his day at school, 15-year-old high school sophomore Andrew Johnson is in a hospital room at Banner University Medical Center after he was bitten by a rattlesnake while out with friends over the weekend.
And so we were all climbing over the wall, and as I came down, I landed inside a bush. And I felt something prick me in the side of the ankle, and so at the time we assumed it was just like some thorn that the bush had.
But once Andrew noticed the small puncture marks right above his left ankle, he thought maybe it wasn't really a thorn after all.
Even thought, like, we saw the two puncture wounds, kind of made fun of it, like, oh, it kind of looks like a snake, but we didn't hear anything or see anything, so we just assumed that it wasn't.
Turns out blood tests showed that's exactly what it was, most likely a baby rattler that was in the bush that Andrew stepped in. So far, he's had 14 vials of anti-venom at the hospital, and as bad as it looks, he says his foot and leg are feeling much better. He's also glad his family got him to a doctor as soon as they realized something was wrong.
With as bad as it got while we were at the house, it's kind of crazy to think of how bad it could have gotten if we waited longer on it. So.
Yeah, and Andrew hopes to be home by tomorrow. Doctors at Banner say September and October are their busiest months for rattlesnake bites because more people are outside, the weather's nicer, and more snakes are outside, including a lot of baby rattlers. They think that that is actually what got Andrew. In fact, this month alone, they've seen 11 rattlesnake bite victims, which is more than normal. Reporting live, Mark Martinez, Fox 10 News.
Moving on to the deadly flooding along the Arizona-Utah border. 12 people killed when their cars were swept away in the town of Hilldale, Utah. This was the scene just across the border in Colorado City, Arizona, as those storms swept through. Families rushing to escape the cars as those floodwaters moved in.
This is beyond tragic. In all, 16 people, 3 adults and 13 children were washed away by the flooding. 3 children survived. 1 adult is still missing. Colorado City and Hilldale, as you know, are sister cities linked by their common belief in polygamy and their imprisoned leader, Warren Jeffs. Fox's Ben Winslow is in Hilldale tonight, where the storms are again moving in.
Authorities continue to search for the last remaining victim. 12 bodies have been recovered so far. Authorities say that what happened here hit so fast, there was nothing anyone could do about it.
Go out for a ride and never come home. It's pretty sad.
Searchers moved along the banks of Short Creek, searching for the victims.
Wow. So the water caught him from behind and then the side and just...
Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox toured the devastation today, offering condolences and pledging state support to help rebuild.
It is unbelievable and something you just never expect to see or have to deal with, and the community is just really in shock right now, as I think we all are.
For the secluded polygamous community of Hilldale, the flooding left people stunned.
But we realize that, you know, this is an act of God, and this is something that we can't control. We have to take what we receive and do the best we can.
There are 3 survivors. They were hospitalized but have been released, all children. The search continues for the last remaining victim. In Hilldale, Utah, Ben Winslow, Fox 10 Phoenix.
We express our sincere gratitude for the kindness and assistance at this inexpressible time of sorrow.
Joseph Jessup said the kindness of the community and strangers is what's kept him and the rest of his family going throughout the most difficult time of losing so many.
I've been forced to find a home and have our appeals for redress unanswered. But now in an instant our families are gone.
Jessup said the family lost their home during recent court evictions of properties owned by the United Effort Trust. He says they also survived the raids on the FLDS compound in Texas in 2008.
Now in an instant our families are gone. We appreciate the sympathy and consideration which we have been given.
It's grief that has spread throughout the entire community of Hilldale and Colorado City.
This is very significant to have several families involved in numerous fatalities. I will add that we have worked at 4 or 5 other rescues.
Horrible, horrible story. And specifically for my friend Al, I have some Dave Muncie for you.
Your exclusive. That kind of looked like the aftermath of some of the weather we've been dealing with, doesn't it? Some of the monsoons we experienced. Right now, monsoon, not a problem. As a matter of fact, it's just a gorgeous day across the valley and across the state, really. 96 right now. You've got a few clouds out there. Doesn't it feel good when we get below 100? I mean, it's coming out of that hot, hot weather and the humid stuff where it actually feels, you know, livable again. Dew point at 51. We have been seeing those dew points so high. That's what's made us feel so uncomfortable. When they get below that 55, which is the magic number where we start to see some of the monsoons popping, it's a little more, as I said, livable and comfortable out there with the dew point at 51, humidity at 22%. So how did we fare today? Well, we were below normal. 98 was our high. 100 is normal, and 109, set way back in 1962, was the record high. Isn't that about the year you were born, John? Somewhere back then?
Yeah, you're close. You're right in the ballpark.
Okay, so 109, we know how hot it could be this time of year, and we actually had a pretty nice day. And our morning temperature, 76 degrees, the low temperature today, really comfortable. We're starting to see those really nice nights, especially when it dries out a little bit. We have most of the moisture well to the north of us. Little bit of the monsoon still in the very southeastern corner of our state. Not much to write home about, not much to talk about, but as we kind of zoom in a little bit bit closer, you see a little storm moving off just to the north of Bisbee, heading just to the south of Tombstone, about to cross over the road there, and we're seeing just a few. These are kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so not much to worry about as far as affecting communities and cities. These are the dew points, and I wanted to show this map because it really illustrates how we've dried out in just the last couple of days. 51 is the dew point here in Phoenix. Of course, I said 55 is that really muggy dew point temperature that we typically see, and anything above that we'll see the storms. But it's really dried out down in Casa Grande. They're at 27, Show Low 41 with the dew point flag up at 34, and that's why we're not calling for any stormy activity. Really, it'll stay down there in that corner of the state where we're seeing the dew point still above 55. That's about the only chance of seeing storms tonight and into tomorrow as well. Here's how the temperatures look today. 98 here in Phoenix, 71 in Flag. We saw 73 at the Grand Canyon, Page at 84, 75 at Show Low. A little bit warmer to the south, Tucson 97. It was dry down in Tucson, and they really heated up to 97 today and 98 in Yuma. Along the California border, we saw temperatures right around 98 as well. This is that area John just showed us video from. Florida getting a lot of rain. Some parts of Florida, the northern part of the state, they've been seeing incredible amounts of rain, but Miami has actually been under almost, I want to say, a drought. They're below normal when it comes to what they should be seeing. So finally, Miami getting some much needed rain, and it looks like this little disturbance is going to push through and won't be a big problem after we get through the weekend. But into tomorrow, they're still having a chance for some rain showers as readings in the 80s in Florida, and this is the area in the midsection of the country where a lot of rain and thunderstorm activity is expected tonight. We could even see a couple of tornadoes. There's some pretty powerful storms there. So tomorrow, look for temperatures much like they were today, in the 70s in the high country, in the 90s down in the southeast deserts. And here is that forecast for you. Wow, what a difference a week makes. However, there is a chance for storms to return starting Monday. So I think we're going to see that monsoonal pattern return again Monday. Some of these could be significant, to be determined, but.
And can you believe that just 2 days ago, this is what we were dealing with?
Heavy rain, strong winds causing a lot of damage around town, leaving thousands of people without power at the height of the storm. The rain moving in from the west, and it really picked up steam as it rolled across central Phoenix, northeastern Phoenix, and into the Paradise Valley area. Our Ty Brennan live tonight at 16th Street and Indian School Road. This is an area where there were several power poles down. This is the area that got hit with that storm a couple weeks ago, Ty.
Yeah, this is kind of a 1-2 punch for Central Phoenix, and APS has been out here all night and all day. In fact, they're still at it here, repairing about 12 power poles that were damaged or destroyed last night during that storm. Now, they say there was about 13,500 customers last night without power. The good news here this afternoon, only about 36 are remaining without power. Now, Central Phoenix really seeing the brunt of the storm last night, and folks today were out cleaning up. It's a sound that's become synonymous with the monsoon. Crews across the valley cleaning up after last night's storm.
A couple limbs fell on top of our roof.
This huge tree couldn't handle the strong winds and came toppling through the roof of this post-op care facility and nursing home at 14th Street and Highland. The tree puncturing right into the attic.
We relocated a few of our residents that were in those rooms that were affected, and we were able to move them into other rooms that were vacant.
Just down the road, APS spending all night and most of the day replacing damaged and downed power lines near 16th Street and Indian School. Many transformers blew as the lines came toppling down.
It was actually pretty wild. I was standing outside, like I was saying, and the transformer exploded. Kind of sounded like a car accident, and kind of blinded me for a quick moment there.
APS had to replace 12 poles. The repairs meant many spent the night without power and no AC. And take a look at this. Some came to work today at this office building near 16th Street and Highland to find that a huge portion of the facade was ripped off.
This morning we got some just phone call with some pictures showing, look like a disaster zone.
This construction team called out to clean up and secure the area. They believe the awning on the bottom floor acted as a parachute and ripped about 30 feet of the facade right off the building. One heck of a storm.
Definitely.
And back out here live at 16th Street and Indian School, APS tells us those remaining 36 customers without power tonight, the majority of them should have power back on by 7 o'clock. They say there is going to be a handful, mainly along Indian School from 12th Street to 16th Street, that won't have power restored until about Thursday. Reporting live in Central Phoenix, Ty Brennan, Fox 10 News.
Thanks, Ty.
I love Ty Brennan, and that was such a pretty, minus that. Such a pretty screen grab right there. We should send it to him. Here's you with beautiful clouds. Although the weather can be something fierce and something vicious around here, it's always temporary, and then the next day, it's unbelievably gorgeous. So we always have that to look forward to. I think that that's going to conclude our local packages unless we have anything breaking over the next 2 hours. That's going to be it for our local, but I do have a video I want to show you, and I have to pull up something else first, so give me 2 seconds, yeah? I've got a lot of national news I can bring you, but let's go into a somber event first. We have the vigil for the officer out of Kentucky that was shot and killed. Very upsetting story. And we'll go to Fox National for the breakdown of that story. And then we will watch some of that vigil for the trooper. And as often happens here, I do have to wait for that video to finish loading. 30 seconds of commercials that I'm not supposed to air, and you don't want to watch it anyway. So, commercial's almost over. Sorry. We're going to watch a Fox National package and then on to the next video.
Back to the information out of this news conference in Kentucky after a suspect shot and killed in the murder of a Kentucky trooper. Here is Kentucky State Police briefing the reporters there moments ago, and here's what they said.
At approximately 7 a.m. this morning, troopers from the Kentucky State Police Special Response Team located Johnson Shanks in a wooded area in a close proximity to I-24 where he shot and killed one of our troopers. Trooper Shanks was armed with a firearm. He refused verbal commands from our troopers to lower his weapon. A trooper from the Kentucky State Police Special Response Team shot Mr. Shanks. Mr. Shanks was then taken into custody after he was shot. Mr. Shanks was transported via ambulance to the Caldwell Medical Center in Princeton, Kentucky, where he succumbed to his injuries at 8:23 a.m.
31-year-old State Trooper Joseph Ponder, that you see on the left-hand side of your screen is the 31-year-old trooper who was shot to death. And now, in the aftermath of all of this, finally caught. Joseph Johnson Shanks also died at the hospital, as you heard there from the trooper in the news conference that just happened moments ago. Another tragic loss of life, this young state trooper in Kentucky.
Now let's see, I have a couple of different packages in association with this story. These two look the same. Are they the same length? They are. So I'm going to show you these two packages on that press conference that was today, and then we will go into the video. So bear with me. Thank you.
Jaythomas. At approximately 7 a.m. this morning, troopers from the Kentucky State Police Special Response Team located Johnson Shanks in a wooded area in a close proximity to I-24 where he shot and killed one of our troopers. Trooper Shanks was armed with a firearm. He refused verbal commands from our troopers to lower his weapon. A trooper from the Kentucky State Police Special Response Team shot Mr. Shanks. Mr. Shanks was then taken into custody after he was shot. Mr. Shanks was transported via ambulance to the Caldwell Medical Center in Princeton, Kentucky, where he succumbed to his injuries at 8:23 a.m. J.A.Y. Shanks was then taken into custody after he was shot. Mr. Shanks was transported via ambulance to the Caldwell Medical Center in Princeton, Kentucky, where he succumbed to his injuries at 8:23 a.m. At this time, this is an ongoing criminal investigation. We're unsure why the suspect fired at our trooper. One of the troopers was still in his vehicle this morning. Trooper Ponder was assigned to Trigg County, and he originally initiated this traffic stop at mile marker 59. He made contact with the suspect this morning, or excuse me, late last night, about 10:20 p.m. The suspect was identified on that traffic stop, and then he fled the trooper during the traffic stop. The trooper initiated a pursuit to pursue the suspect, who abruptly stopped at the 49-mile marker inside Lyon County this morning, or excuse me, last night. At that point, the suspect leaned out of the driver's side window and fired multiple rounds at the trooper car, striking the hood, the windshield, and striking our trooper. The trooper was transported to Caldwell Medical Center last night, where he succumbed to his injuries as well. There were three other occupants in the vehicle, one female, one adult female, and 2 juvenile children. The occupants wasn't taken into custody this morning. They were, or last night, they were detained, and I'm not sure right now if anybody's been charged. The woman that was apprehended this morning, Ambria, is a niece to Mr. Shanks. There was an additional lady in the car. She was 22 years of age, and then the 2 small children. I don't know the relationship of the other folks in the vehicle, and because they wasn't charged in the minors, we're not releasing their names. When the trooper discovered that the driver had a suspended driver's license, with 2 small kids being in the vehicle, the 2 young ladies that were of age, neither had a driver's license. He was going to try to secure a hotel room for them for the evening, so they could get somebody down to that could actually drive them back. From time to time, our troopers do things like that. That's just one of the things that he was trying to do. He was trying to help them out, and for an unknown reason, the driver fled off.
Community who has shown a lot of support for the Ponder family. It touched me deeply when I saw the pictures of Hardin County Christian students standing on the side of the road as they brought our fallen hero home. I'm going to take this time to read you a post from a fellow teammate of Cameron's. Robert Wright posted on Monday at 9:22 in the morning. Been waiting years to tell a good friend of mine, a classmate, a mentor, a teammate, Joseph Cameron Ponder, thank you. I used to look up to this guy on and off the track. Him and Coach Webb played a big part in my graduating high school. Ponder's discipline, determination, statue rubbed off on me. Hanging with him, I did better. I actually wanted to graduate. I wanted to be the best in track, and that I did. I would never forget us walking across the stage and heading straight to the state track meet. One of the best days of my life. Recently, our coach, James Webb, hooked us back up. and I've been waiting on his call ever since. But I won't get that call due to the heartless act of another man taking his life at a traffic stop. Hurt to hear this and upset as well. Let's keep our prayers for the Ponder family and anyone else who lost somebody today. This world is a cold place because love has been forgotten. We can easily stop the madness of this world by loving each other. Love cures all. But again, all I want to do is tell a great friend, thank you. What I learned our senior year is what I put towards life every day. Rest easy, my friend, Joseph Cameron Ponder. Cameron was a loving spirit who would do anything for anyone. Cameron will truly be missed, but he will not be forgotten.
I'm Jeff Medley. I'm the post commander here at Elizabeth Town. And I just wanted to take a moment and thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. I want to thank Supporting Heroes for all their help in organizing this and being an integral part as we take Cameron Ponder to the gravesite. More than anything, all of us here are here because we're people of faith. And I've learned that Cameron was a person of faith as well. With that in mind, we know where he is. We know he's in heaven. And he's smiling down on us. He's smiling down because each one of those lights out there represents someone who has let every one of these first responders that are here tonight know that there's a great many people who care. And there's a great many people who believe lives of first responders matter. And because of that, you are helping by being here, not only a community healer, but you're helping all these officers and first responders here, as well as the family. Cameron had several titles: son, brother, fiance, friend, trooper. All of those titles are held by many of these officers. And by you being here, it shows that you realize that they're people who matter, and their lives matter. And every day we come to work because we feel the same thing about you. Thank you very much for being here. God bless Cameron Ponder, Pond family, and this community, and all first responders. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Weedman. I'm a former trustee and former chairman of the board for Supporting Heroes. We're here tonight to pay honor and tribute to Trooper Joseph Cameron Ponder and his family, and also to pay tribute to every law enforcement officer and every first responder in EMS and the fire department and fire and rescue who share both dedication and service and sacrifice for the good of our community. Now, I want to make it clear that I never met Trooper Ponder. I know little about his life as he grew up. But what I've learned in the past 72 hours and I've learned about this incident, I realize that I know quite a bit about his character. Even though I've never had the pleasure of speaking with Trooper Ponder, I am convinced I know two things about this person. That he was a man, a real man, and Trooper Ponder was a warrior. And I mean both of those with every positive connotation for both terms. In a society that has little idea what it means for manhood and to be a man, and in a society that shuns the second term as politically incorrect, let me explain. Trooper Joseph Cameron Ponder was a man. He was a true man. Jim Bergen, the pastor of Flatirons Community Church in Denver, Colorado, has the best definition I've ever heard what it means for manhood in this world. Its 5 characteristics with the acronym of SHAPE, 5 characteristics. Listen to these 5 characteristics and see if you who knew Cameron can't see each one of these in his life. The first characteristic is that of submission. A real man has decided to submit to someone or something who is in a position of authority or higher status or importance to him. And I'm confident that Trooper Ponder understood that the concept of submission doesn't describe weakness, it describes strength under control. He was a man who operated a system of chain of command. Now you think about it. He was a United States naval diver. He had already proven himself serving his country, but yet he came home and he submitted himself to the authority of the Kentucky State Police Recruit Academy. He submitted to them in strength. And I know he did that because had he not, he would have never made it out. A man also courageously submits himself to God's word and truth, even when it's painful, hard, inconvenient, or unpopular. I am told that Cameron Ponder was a Christian. And I don't throw that term around lightly. That means he believed in the God that created the universe, and he believed in the name of Jesus Christ for his Savior. And he trusted that. Cameron knew what submission was as a man in strength. The second characteristic is that of honor. A man of honor knows what's most important, and a man courageously prioritizes or reprioritizes his life in his limited time, his limited attention, energy, and money, so that his life is spent on what really matters most, what God says matters most. Cameron Ponder didn't choose law enforcement to be rich, let me tell you. And like all of us, he had limited time and energy. And I know firsthand that the life of a law enforcement officer is one that will take an inordinate amount of your time and personal energy. But Cameron Ponder decided to spend his time on what really mattered. He knew about honor. The third characteristic of a true man is one who assesses himself. He assesses himself for passivity. A man regularly makes a brutal, honest assessment of his life so that he can actively take responsibility for what God has entrusted to him and root out any passivity which may have crept into his life. Now, I don't know how you can use the term passive to describe a person who dedicates literally his entire adult life to serving in the armed forces and then beginning again in law enforcement. And I also want to note that this tragic event began as a traffic stop for a minor offense. A passive person might have overlooked something so simple to look for something more glamorous, but that wasn't Cameron, as I understand him now. The fourth characteristic of a real man has to do with the word perish. A man is willing to perish through his own desires to provide for and protect for the more important needs of others, including a person in his family. Trooper Ponder carried this characteristic literally to the end. Jesus was the one who said, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friend." Trooper Ponder's entire life was dedicated to protecting other people, and this dedication is what finally led to his end. The final characteristic of true manhood is that of engagement. A wise man wisely engages in all that God has commanded him to do, empowered by the grace of God. This week I listened on the news, as many of you probably did, to the recorded communications between Trooper Ponder and his dispatch. And as I listened to that on television, I heard that he was calm, authoritative, and fully engaged. And at great risk to his life, he remained fully engaged until the end. Trooper Joseph Cameron Ponder was a true man, and he was also a warrior. I've heard it said that a soldier fights against something, but a warrior fights for something. Cameron Ponder was fighting for something every day or night he put on the uniform of the Kentucky State Police. And can I tell you, he was also fighting for something every time he put on the uniform of the United States Navy. See, there's something intrinsically different about the heart of a warrior. Instead of trying to just make a point, the heart of a warrior wants to make a difference for good. Given the service to his country through the United States Navy and service to his community through the Kentucky State Police, I'm confident that Cameron Ponder wanted to make a difference. In fact, he did make a difference. Joseph Cameron Ponder was a man and a warrior, and we honor him tonight. But you know, these characteristics also describe every dedicated law enforcement officer here, whether male or female. As I stated in the beginning, tonight's purpose is to honor not only Trooper Ponder and his family, but to say thank you to all the true heroes of our society. Not the least, Trooper Eric Christman, who also, as a classmate of Joseph Ponder, graduated from the police academy in January, was killed in June of this year in a traffic crash while investigating a reckless driving complaint. He was the first of two from the Mayfield Post to be killed in the line of duty. So to the men and women serving in emergency medical services, fire and rescue, and tonight especially our law enforcement, thank you. In this time of unparalleled scrutiny of law enforcement officers, will you allow me to give you some encouragement? Don't give up. You are the servant of the God who created the universe. Listen to what a man named Paul wrote some 2,000 years ago. And let me remind you, this is the man we call the Apostle Paul, who met the resurrected Jesus on the dusty road to Damascus. He wrote, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers hold no terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer." Officers, this is written about you. It's written about your profession. You are a servant of the God who created the heavens. This is why I've said before and will always say that the most honorable profession in America, in the world, I think, is that of a law enforcement officer. May God bless our nation, and may God richly bless each of you. Please pray with us. Father, we thank you for the life of not only Trooper Joseph Cameron Ponder, but the lives of those who serve our community in the emergency medical services and fire and rescue and in law enforcement. Lord God, these men and women serve at great personal risk for our good. Will you bless and protect them? And Father, will you comfort Joseph's family, Cameron's family? May his life serve as an inspiration to all of us. And we simply ask, Lord, that your will be on earth as in heaven. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
There is a candle in every soul, some brightly burning, some dark and cold. There is a spirit who brings a fire, ignites a candle, and makes his home. So carry your candle and run to the darkness. Seek out the helpless, confused and torn, and hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light dedicated brother. See how he's tried to light his own candle some other way. See now your sister, she's been robbed and lied to, still holds a candle without a flame. So carry your candle and run to the darkness. Seek out the helpless, the lost and war, and hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light your world. Take your candle and go light your world. We are a family whose hearts are blazing. So let's raise our candles and light up the sky, praying to our Father in the name of Jesus. Make us a beacon in darkest times. So carry your candle and run to the darkness. Seek out the helpless, the tired and worn, and hold out your candle for all to see it. And take your candle and go light your world. Take your candle and go light your world.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the great state of Kentucky to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, from New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. There ain't no doubt on this land. God bless the USA.
Would you close with me tonight and join together and we sing a very special song. It's very special to the state police, and one that Trooper Ponder would have just sung together with his classmates at their graduation. Would you join me as we close tonight in the singing of My Old Kentucky Home?
The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. This summer, the people are gay. The corn tops bright and the meadows in the bloom, while the birds make music all the day. The young folks roll on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By and by, hard time comes a knocking at my door. In my old Kentucky home stood night. Weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home, far away.
God bless you. Thank you all for coming tonight. May our great God bless you and keep you safe in His arms.
And it looks like we are having some technical difficulties with my video. Thank you so much for watching that with me. Very sad stuff. I believe it was Dee that was complimenting how beautiful the singers were in the community, and it was just a beautiful vigil service, community organized event. It was beautiful and sad to experience that together. I do have Jude LaCava coming up. The rumors are true. In the meantime, we do like to give all of the candidates, Democrat and Republican, equal time. So I do have some Hillary Clinton for you. I know I play a lot of Clinton. I don't know why I'm getting so much Clinton, but I do have a lot of Hillary Clinton. Maybe it's because she's just active more like later in the day. But I do have some Clinton for you now. We'll watch a little bit of that. Know that Jude LaCava is on his way, and hopefully we'll get to revisit some of Trump's greatest hits from earlier today in New Hampshire.
Every single day. But we have to connect those big issues, like the global economy, to the daily lives of people so that we get paychecks and incomes rising again, so that the average American believes that he or she has a real shot at the future. We can look at the big issues that I've worked on my entire public life about women's rights, and I was so pleased that this was the month 20 years ago I gave the speech in Beijing about, human rights being women's rights and women's rights being human rights. But then we need to connect it to what goes on here at home. We still don't have equal pay for equal work for American women. So part of what I want to do is connect up what's happening in our world, what's happening in our nation, what's happening right here in Concord, right in the local community. Earlier today in Laconia, we had a packed room at the Boys and Girls Club there to talk about substance abuse and to talk about what Laconia, New Hampshire, and America need to do to deal with this epidemic. And as I said to everybody earlier, I really didn't expect I'd be talking about this, but I hear about it everywhere I go. And here in New Hampshire, it's an epidemic. And the people who were there, people from law enforcement, people from the not-for-profit community, the recovery community, the business community, the legislative community, they all said the same thing. This kind of snuck up on us. And now we have, in America and in particularly in New Hampshire, a serious problem of drug abuse, alcoholism, but the leading edge of it is heroin. And the number of overdoses and deaths. And I was so impressed by the young police chief who got up and talked about how Laconia has just changed the way they interact with young men and young women who are in trouble. To save lives, number one. Not so much about putting people in jail, it's keeping them alive, giving them a chance for a better future. So what I want to do as your president is to be leading our country and our world with confidence, with strength, with our values, but also recognizing that there are a lot of issues that keep people up at night. How do you afford college? Governor and I are going to talk about that tomorrow. How do you pay back the debt that you got because you wanted to further your education? How do you deal with the exploding costs of drugs? What do we really think about Social Security? How are we going to make sure the Affordable Care Act works for everybody? These are issues that people come to me with very specific and often quite painful, difficult concerns about. So as we talk tonight, I want you to know that my goal is to get our economy working again, raising incomes at the very center of that economic plan that I've put forth. I want strong growth, fair growth, long-term growth. I want to make sure that those who are already benefiting from the fact that the deck is stacked in their favor begin to pay and do their fair share so that everybody else can have the same benefits for the kind of future that we deserve. also don't think I have all the answers. I don't think I have all the answers. I don't think any person does. I think we have to work together to find the answers. And then we have to fix our broken political system so that we can start acting like Americans again to get the solutions enacted. I mean, it really is heartbreaking to think that one more time the Republicans in Congress are thinking about shutting our government down. This time they claim they want to do it over defunding Planned Parenthood. Look, I was Secretary of State. I went to 112 countries for all of you. I know we are still the most admired nation in the world. I still just get goosebumps thinking about what it's like coming into a country on behalf of the United States of America and know that we represent the hopes and dreams, the freedom, the aspiration that so many people feel. But I also know we're in a global competition, aren't we? And if we can't govern ourselves, if we can't make tough decisions, if we can't overcome our partisanship and our dysfunction, the leaders of other countries who don't always agree with us are going to take advantage of that. Shutting down the government is something nobody else in the world really understands. You would voluntarily do that to yourself? Go figure. I was in Hong Kong back in the summer of 2011 when the Republicans were threatening to shut down the government over the debt limit, which I always find, I have to tell you, to be just the height of irony. The Congress of the United States appropriates the money and spends the money that we then have to figure out how we're going to handle. And they turn around and say, hey, stop us before we do it again. Well, that makes no sense. Look, I come from, the experience of the 90s where we ended up with a balanced budget and a surplus, and I know that that can be done. And it can be done while incomes rise for everybody, not just those at the top, those in the middle, and those in the lower income as well. So there I am in Hong Kong, and I'm pitching American businesses, trying to sell more American products. We actually got exports up while I was Secretary of State, thanks to the Obama administration focus on this. And all of these Asian business leaders, they were predominantly, maybe even exclusively men, are standing in line to, shake my hand and everything. And every one of them is saying, is your government going to be shut down? What does that mean? And I'm saying, oh, no, that'll never happen. Obviously I'm out there cheering us on. I said, that's not going to happen. It didn't that time, thankfully. So fast forward to the fall of 2013, and they shut the government down. What do we get from that? Nothing. I'll tell you what we didn't get. The President of the United States could not go to an important Asian meeting where Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping of China were going to be, so that the American government, the country that we are all part of, would be represented. He couldn't go because if the government shut down, the president can't get on the airplane and fly to a meeting that's been in the works for years. What we also know is that in looking at the coverage, which I was following from around the world, we started to see nations led by the Chinese saying, hey, we need to, quote, de-Americanize the world. Now, I'll tell you where I stand. I don't want to see the world de-Americanized. That is not good for America, and it's not good for the world. Because the alternative to American leadership is not somebody else's leadership, it is nobody's leadership. The vacuum that will be filled, as we are seeing in some parts of the world right now. Nations claiming regional dominance and trying to push other countries into their domination. So look, all of these decisions have consequences. And if you saw the Republican debate last night, yes, I didn't hear one of them say, hey, here's how we can be more competitive educationally, how we can get college affordable, how we can deal with the student debt load, which is $1.2 trillion that is weighing down 40 million of our people. I didn't hear any of them say, hey, you know what? The explosion in prescription drug costs now, especially for our seniors, is really getting out of hand. Here's what I would do. I didn't hear any of them even admit that climate change was real or that we could become the clean energy superpower of the 21st century and create millions of new jobs from solar and wind and advanced biofuels. And I waited in vain for some glimmer of a vision about how we're going to live together and how we're going to work together and how we're going to achieve our national goals together. So this election is critical for many reasons. There are specific issues that are critical, but I think it really comes down to two very different views about where we are as a nation and where we need to be. And I'm going to run a campaign where I tell you what I will do and why I think it's important and what is at stake. And I will let them run their own campaigns until it is time to join the issues. Because from my perspective, if we don't stay true to our democracy, if we don't decide again that we have to make tough decisions together, if we don't get out the pernicious, corrupting influence of unlimited, unaccountable, dark money, then our politics will be what you saw on that stage last night. Lots of bickering, lots of personal, insults, attacks, all kinds of claims without any basis. That's what it will be. It might be entertaining for some, but it's not going to be good for America. So let me just end by saying, as Sylvia and I shared with you, being new grandmothers is kind of a special bond to add to our friendship. But it's also a special responsibility. Because if you do what we're doing in my family, which is just over the top about our granddaughter, you think about what kind of life she'll have and what you can do to make that life possible. But for us anyway, for my husband and me, that's not enough, because what kind of country will she grow up in? What kind of world is going to be waiting for her? What can each of us do? And I do think there's a role for each of us. What can each of us do to try to make sure we stay true to the America that has given so much to all of us? I'm the granddaughter of a factory worker. My grandfather came as a child to this country and went to work in the Scranton lace mills, worked there for many years. He worked hard because he believed that by doing so he could get a better life for his children, and he did. All three of his sons went to college. And when my dad got out of college in the middle of the Great Depression, he couldn't find a job. He hopped a freight train, went to Chicago and started looking for a job there. Ended up being a salesman. Then he joined the Navy in World War II. And when he came out, he started a small business. And it was really, really small, but it provided a good, solid, middle-class life for us. And here I am, standing in front of you, running for president. That's the American dream. That's the American story. And I have said, I do not think you should have to be the granddaughter of a former president to be able to live up to your dreams. I think granddaughters of factory workers and grandsons of truck drivers should have the same right in America to have that dream come true. So let me now turn to all of you, and I'd be happy. I think we've got some microphones, maybe. Do we have some microphones? We got some microphones that can wander around. Okay, here's a gentleman right here. So maybe the microphone is coming, sir.
Hillary, I'm Dwight Haynes, and in 1950, at the Boy Scout Jamboree at Valley Forge, I was privileged to meet President Dwight Eisenhower. A good Republican president, not like some of the others. And more than once after that event, I heard him speak against the growing military-industrial complex. As I listened last night, it seems to me the Republicans are determined to put more and more money into defense regardless of what else happens. So I'm wondering, as president, would you be willing to set some kind of limits on how much we put into the defense piece of the pie? Also, will you make sure that corporations that sell weapon systems don't influence our politicians?
Two good questions, and you know, I'm a great admirer of President Eisenhower. And I think he was very far-sighted when he gave that speech about the necessity for us to, be careful about the military-industrial complex, as he called it. I don't think there's any doubt that we have always had two conflicting imperatives. We need to have a strong defense. Everybody agrees with that. But how we do it and how much it costs is subject to debate. And I think we are overdue for a very thorough debate in our country about what we need and how we are willing to pay for it. Because I think some of the decisions that have been made because of the sequester, which just cut without regard to the effectiveness of a program or the impact of it being eliminated, was much too blunt an instrument. I think we should have a high-level commission of really well-respected people from different walks of life who have not lived their life completely in the military-industrial world, really take a hard look, the same way we have had to in the past look at closing bases. A system was put in place where there could be somewhat less influence from the congressional politics. And I'd like to see such a commission come up with recommendations. Because what I hear all the time, what I saw as a senator, I served on the Armed Services Committee, what I saw as Secretary of State, is that very often the leadership of the Defense Department wants to eliminate certain spending or wants to change it, maybe put it somewhere else where they think it would do more good. And I've talked all day, I'm sorry. And they're stopped by the Congress. So what I'm looking for is a way of avoiding that. So you can talk some more while I catch my voice.
I represent folks who are developmentally disabled. And one of the difficulties that we have is that when our young folks come out of school at the age of 22, that we are basically facing a situation where our kids are now sitting on our living room couches. We have families who are well into their 80s that have 60-year-old children that are still living at home because there is no housing. And it is not only, I'm from California. There is a 9-year waiting list to get a HUD voucher. Our folks are living on $840 a month. That includes everything, their rent, their food, their entertainment, their clothing. And we are in crisis for housing. And that is something that my sense is with this explosion of autism that is coming down the pike. I feel that it's going to break every system out there. And again, we really need some help with that. And it's not just in California, it's also here because I'm working with the family here as well. and they're having the same difficulties here, trying to find housing that's safe and affordable. Thank you.
Could you hear her question? You know, before I answer the question, I want to ask, how many of you either have someone in your family or know of someone with autism or another chronic condition where, oh my goodness, where that person is going to need permanent housing, care, and service? I'll get back to you, but let me ask this would you like to speak for yourself, dear? Okay. Here comes a microphone somewhere. Here we go.
As an autistic volunteer, she would love to help everyone from any kind of injury or any kind of member from World War I or maybe World War II or maybe the Vietnam War or any kind of others.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
So, if you're worried about autism, how are we supposed to face another Great Depression?
Well, that's a very good question, because if we can't provide for people now, what do we do when the economy gets worse? Anybody else want to add anything on the whole issue of long-term care, of supported services, of housing? Yes, this lady right there. Here comes your microphone.
Concern is for the veterans. We've had a lot of support for the New Hampshire Veterans Home in New Hampshire. My husband's currently up there with Alzheimer's. So my concern is for the homeless and what we can do for all of the veterans that we have. Any plans for funding? I guess that's my question.
You know, all of these problems are connected. And that's why I wanted to see the hands and I wanted people to maybe say a few words. We are facing a caregiving crisis. There are so many people in our society, certainly as people age, but not just that. We have a lot of people who thankfully are living longer with conditions that are quite difficult. So if you take autism as an example, we have a large number of young people who are going to get older, and it's going to be more and more difficult for their families to provide the support and services they need. And at a certain point, because I have friends who are in this situation, the families will not be able to do that. Maybe they won't even be around anymore. And so one of the big issues that I've heard about, I was in Dover about 2 months ago, and I called on a woman, just like I don't know anybody that, I don't know what you're going to say when I call on you, but I called on a woman, and she said, you know, I ran over here because I just want to ask you, I'm taking care of my husband with Alzheimer's and my mother with Alzheimer's. This is an increasing problem. So here's what I think we have to figure out how to do. It goes back to we need some smart new ideas. We need to figure out whether it's defense spending or caregiving with all of the services associated. First of all, we've got to do a better job of supporting families who take care of their own family members. And you know, every person I've ever met who's taking care of a spouse or a parent or another or a child with some kind of condition that they need, you know, intensive care, they tell me the same thing. They say, you know, I want to be able to do it. I feel strongly that I should be doing it, but we're spending down our savings. We have no support. We have no respite care. And if that person and the family were just turned over to the state and put into a nursing home, we would all be paying for it. So how do we do a better job of supporting families and supporting the people that they care for? I am really open to ideas about this, and I want to tell you that a lot of my plan, if you're interested in the substance abuse issue, came out of talking to people in New Hampshire. That's why I went back to Laconia, because I want to know what will work. I want to know what we're going to do on caregiving, because right now we just don't have enough resources to help the numbers of people we have today who need it, let alone the growing numbers of people who are going to need it. And there's no doubt that keeping somebody in a home, putting someone in a supported house, is less expensive than putting them in a nursing home or other, intensive skilled facility. Like today in Laconia, Governor Shumlin was saying one of the reasons he got interested in helping people with drug problems is that if they go to jail, it costs him, as I recall, something like $1,123 a week to take care of them in jail. If he can get them into treatment, it costs $120 a week. So we've got to be smarter with our dollars, our tax dollars, our personal dollars, and I think we can be, but we got to get ahead of this problem because it's not going to wait for us. It's going to go full speed ahead. Yes, ma'am. Wait, here, I want ideas to be heard, so here comes your microphone.
So I'm an immigration attorney with Catholic Charities, and watching the debates last night, I heard two passionate arguments from Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush about immigration because they live with immigrants. They grew up with immigrants. We have not heard the other side of the coin yet, which are the mixed status family, the many, many talented people here who just want a chance. Many of them would die to have training and to be the people to take care of us. We're even moving in that direction now. There are many programs, federally funded, and come through the state where we're training young immigrants to become the healthcare workers of the future. That's one thought. Two quick other ones. Take their paychecks away. For the congressmen and women and the senators who vote to shut down government, why don't we simply say, if you vote that, then I don't get paid if I don't go to work, so you don't get paid. It makes us pretty angry here in New Hampshire. We know how to squeeze a nickel and then some out of a nickel. But when people get paid to not go to work, it just isn't right. And there's too much important. And one final comment. We as Democrats often think too much and are too rational about the issues. And we know that lots of people on the stage there that aren't thinkers, we need to bring our message down. We need to, I think, really get our history of success out there. We know what the Clinton administration did for the economy. We know what Obama's administration has done. If they had allowed him to do even more, think of where we would be on some of these issues. So, Mrs. Clinton, you're our heroine. Don't be afraid to tout your successes from your early days as a children's defense attorney. You've done it. Take credit for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You made a lot of great points. I just want to emphasize one of them. And I say this without meaning to be either partisan or personal, but the economy does better when a Democrat's in the White House. That is just a fact. Yeah, way back there, there's a man with a hat, way back there. Here you go, sir. Here's your microphone.
I just want to say it's an honor that you're running again because I campaigned for you in 2008. And I was going to run for president, but I'm giving you a chance. I think you're going to be for the people, like they say, for the people, we the people. And Martin Luther King said, I have an American dream. I just want to add, because you covered basically everything. Let's fulfill that dream.
Yes, yes, thank you, thank you. Oh my God, this lady right there, yep, right there, yep.
I'm really glad I came tonight to hear you talk. I know you are trying to show people your essential character. I know that's important, and I think that I'm hearing, and I'm longing to hear a woman who can address the rights of women. As we all know, those are under attack, and you've addressed Planned Parenthood, income inequality, addiction recovery, so important. So important. Housing, all the other things. I feel like you're a puzzle with just a few pieces missing. I want to hear about your peace stance for recovery from perpetual warfare and have an exit strategy. And I am so tired of hearing about terrorism. I want to hear, like, FDR. We need to stop being afraid. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So I'd like to hear you have a plan for getting us out of terrorist mindset.
Great, thank you, thank you. You know, look, I think that it is absolutely the case that we have had so many opportunities in the past years to try to chart a different course when it comes to peace and security. And we've been successful in some areas, but we still have work to do. When President Obama asked me to be Secretary of State back in, right after the election of 2008, it was in large measure because he had to focus on the economy, which was in a terrible free fall. But it was also because we had alienated everybody around the world, and we had to get back to work to restore American leadership and rebuild our alliances and our partnerships with people. And that is what I spent most of my time working on in those 4 years. That doesn't mean that the problems disappear, but it means that you have to enter into the work of diplomacy by trying to involve other people in coming up with solutions. And that's what I believe in. I believe that we have to emphasize diplomacy with our friends in Europe, with our friends in Asia, we have to spend more time on our friends here in Latin America, because we are stronger when we are leading a large coalition or group of people. And the Iran sanctions are a perfect example. You know, when I became Secretary of State, the Iranians had already made progress toward a nuclear weapon. And we had to figure out what to do about it, because it would have been a very unfortunate development that probably would have led to more countries in the region getting their own nuclear weapons. So what were we going to do about it? We had seen what President George W. Bush had done, and it hadn't worked. So that's why we very carefully, slowly put together the coalition that passed international sanctions. I worked on that for 18 months. You know, a lot of this doesn't get into headlines, but you have to build relationships with people. You have to get people to trust you. You have to come up with ideas that they will buy into. That's what I will do. Now, specifically when it comes to terrorism, terrorism is a tactic, and it's a tactic that is deployed to do exactly what it says, to terrorize people. And what we have to do is work together to get more countries, particularly in the regions where this is so virulent now, to work with us. And we have no alternative to that. We have to help lead other countries to deal with their internal problems that unfortunately provoke the creation of terrorist groups. I am not able to tell you that I would walk away from that, because I think that would be a mistake. But I will tell you that I will be working very hard to figure out how we kind of surround and deter and eventually, you know, diminish, if not eliminate, the threat posed by groups like ISIS. But they still pose a threat to us. And maybe I feel so, you know, strongly about what needs to be done because I was a senator from New York. So I knew people who died in the World Trade Center. I worked for my entire first term to try to figure out how to help people. So I know what is possible in terms of the terrible evil that can be inflicted on people by these terrorist groups. Well, you know, nobody that I know of should be enthusiastic about any war. It's unpredictable. It has unintended consequences for sure. But I think that we have learned more in the last several years about what works and what doesn't work, and we need to apply those lessons. And that is why I support what President Obama is trying to do, as difficult as it is. in putting together more countries to take on the terrorist threat that ISIS poses. You know, we are providing air support, we are providing intelligence, we are doing things that alone make a difference. Neighboring countries decide that it's a problem for them too. So that's the dilemma. And I answer, unfortunately, convinced there is. So I think we have to be very, very a first resort, but we have to be sure we bring more people into our thinking so that and show them more respect so that we can possibly could alone. And that happens or any other oh, I'm doing good. How about yourself? Wait, I think you got a microphone.
Okay, I prepared this, so hopefully I don't stutter. Okay, my name is Ebby Banks. I'm 17 years old, and I'm from Palo Alto, California, and I attend here. And I had like a pretty simple question for you. Essentially, like I was wondering, how would you define the word equality, and do you think it exists?
How would I define the word equality? That people are equal before and under the law, and that they are equally entitled to share in the benefits and the privileges of the society of which they are a part, and equally entitled to participate in the economy in order to make a good living for themselves and their families. Having said that, you know and I know that we're born with different physical or mental abilities. We're born with different parenting practices. There are a lot of kids but they don't have the opportunity to go as far as their hard work might take them. So I do not believe in equality of outcomes because that is feasible. I believe in equality of opportunity, that we try to create more of that for more people, particularly young people. Yes. Great question. How would you set a level playing field at birth to try to do more on equal access to opportunity? Here's what I would do, okay? Because you're asking the right question. People are, in my view, born with the kind of quality, potential, but it's not realized. And you may have two born similar circumstances, one to get a good education and go far, and the other isn't. Why? I think we cannot end all inequality, but we have to do a lot more than we're doing today to try to get closer to that goal. And I think if you say all people are created equal, we need to take it seriously. And we need to have more ladders of opportunity and support systems. So we need more good jobs with rising incomes so that more families have the means to be able to pursue the opportunity that might be available. We need more early childhood education because more kids would then to be successful in school. If is physically formed by the age of 3, then it really matters what happens to you in those first 3 years of life. And I just don't think we're doing enough for our littlest kids. I think we're leaving too many of our children behind right at the starting gate. And I think that is absolutely wrong. And so from my perspective, I want to invest in early childhood education. I want to invest in universal pre-K. And I want to do a better job in trying to persuade parents and families about what they can do for their kids. And let me just finish. I love your enthusiasm. We know a lot. When I was in Arkansas, kids who weren't prepared for school, to kindergarten, and they just wouldn't be ready to compete. And it's really hard to catch up once you're 5, 6, 7 years old. It certainly can happen, and it does happen, but it's an extra burden. I was looking literally, what could I bring to Arkansas to help more succeed? And I found a program in Israel. They did in Israel was when they had a lot of poor Jewish immigrants from places like Ethiopia.
And that's the end of Hillary Clinton. That's all I got for you. But if you are in the chat room, you know that that's almost all I could take. I was just like, what is this? I love politics. I love politics. I love this time of, and not this time of the year because it doesn't happen every year, but I love when we get into political seasons. I love when we get into campaigns. However, I have such a hard time with some of these questions. For instance, that young man who's clearly nervous stating, how can we all be equal at birth? And I was saying, I don't think that that's realistic. I don't think that that's reality, and I think it's unfair for people to promise that they're going to do that for you or that they're even going to try to do that for you. And if we are all equal, what is the fun in that? Why does it give you or I any reason to work harder or want more or to go to stay in school or to want to go this direction in school or to pursue this job? Even, it just, to me, it's a silly question, or it's a silly desire to want everybody to be equal. The fact that we're not equal is why people want to be better. And everyone should want to be better, and everybody should want to work to be better. You shouldn't want to be given anything. You shouldn't expect to be given anything. And that's my issue with some of these political speeches. They make me exhausted. Work hard, do good, and you will attract good opportunities. It's a fact. It's science. Drops mic and rant. It's science. I am worked up. Ron says, Kinsey, I think they mean equal opportunity, not that everyone is equal. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. A lot of people just want everything that everybody else has. If somebody slams the door in your face, you don't kick rocks and say, now I'm going to go pitch a fit so that they open the door for me. You go somewhere else and you show that person that they made a mistake when they slammed the door in your face. That's the way you function. If somebody doesn't allow you, I don't know. I'm done. Oh, it's not Friday yet. It's not Friday yet. It's getting close, though. These speeches, they're working me up. I believe what just occurred was a hissy fit. Perhaps it's a tizzy. I had another speech Rets to go, but I can't find it. Where could it be? Where's my other where is my other video? You can stare at me while I look for it. I apologize in advance. I had some Trump for you, And I don't have it up anymore, so it's going to take me a minute to find it. Because I can't promise Trump and not give you Trump. That would be something a politician would do. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you. So hold up. That's my Dr. Dre impression, by the way. I love it. What is that song called that he walks out to? It is You're the Best Around from the Karate Kid. Epic.
Fantastic! We love New Hampshire. Thank you, everybody. What a great welcome. Sit down, relax. We'll be here for a while. You know, I said today that we just got back, as you know, we came from Mobile, Alabama 2 weeks ago. We had 31,000 people. 31,000! Then we just left Dallas, where we were in the great Mavericks, as you know, the Mavericks building, the basketball team, a great team, a wonderful team. And Mark Cuban was so nice. He called, we know Mark, right? Good guy. And what happened is he said, what about using the arena? I said, well, how much do we have? How long do we have? And how many seats? It's 20,000 seats. They filled it up in 2 days. Is that good? I then flew from Dallas, always making speeches. I then flew, because we have to make our country great again, right? I then flew, and this was sort of fun, we flew to a very nice place, Los Angeles, right? And we went to the USS Iowa, and we were honored by a great vets group, which gave me an endorsement. They endorsed me. The vets liked me, and I love the vets. We have a lot of vets here tonight. We have a lot of vets, but the vets on the USS Iowa, that is some ship, by the way. They don't build them like that anymore, but they endorsed me. And then I flew, as you know, last night. We had a little thing called a debate at the Reagan Library, and it was sort of an amazing thing. We had an incredible time. Thank you. Thank you. That was some evening. Now, I'll tell you the problem with evening. It did so well that CNN said, let's make it an hour longer. Can you believe this? That debate was 3 hours. It felt like more than that. Now, why did they do that? For the young children here, because we have to teach them to be entrepreneurs. They did it because they wanted more revenue coming from the commercials, right? Isn't that terrible? Terrible. I think it's terrible. And the money should have gone to the vets, right? Right? The money should have gone. They made a lot of money. They made a lot of money. But in the end, it was an incredible time, and we had an incredible time. And I got such great remarks. Look at this. We just wrote this down. Time magazine, they did votes as to who won the debate last night, right? So Time magazine, 114,000 votes as of 6 p.m. Trump, 56. Carly Fiorina, 19. Rubio, 7. Ben Carson, 4. The rest not doing too good. Then Drudge, We love Drudge. We love Drudge. Donald Trump, 51%. We had a total of 668,000 votes cast. Trump, 668,000. Think of it, 51%. Second, Fiorina, much less, like much. Then Rubio, then Cruz, then, I'm not going to mention the next name because I don't like him very much. Then Newsmax, way up ahead. Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too. The great Chris Ruddy, I like it too. Donald Trump, first place by a lot. The Street, Donald Trump, 52%. That's a lot when you have all of these guys. That's a lot. You know, it's not against two people. It's against Donald Trump, 52%, first place. Then you had Slate, and that's also Donald Trump. So we had a great time. Now, you don't read about that so much on television because coming out, boy, Fox treated me shabbily. They treated me shabbily. But that's okay. CNN, a little bit better. They treated me a little bit better. But the end result is people know what happened. It was an incredible time. And we are going to do something very special. There's a great movement going on, and it's a special movement. It's a movement where people want to see our country be great again. They want to see things happen. They want to see the right things happen. They want everybody to get together, work. You know, the people of New Hampshire, you love to work, don't you? Don't you love to work? Huh? And, you know, so I had a little news yesterday because he's a great person and he's a great winner. I love winners. We love winners, right? So a great winner, Tom Brady. Tom Brady, right? So Tom is this incredible guy, total champion, and didn't even want to tell me about it. He endorsed me yesterday, right? Everybody up here knows that. That's good. When you get Tom, you're getting a champ, and he's a great champ. And we have some others, I won't mention them now, but I want to tell you, we have so many people that are endorsing, and so many really, you know, it's very interesting. Coach Ditka in Chicago, and people that I don't even know are just coming out in favor of Trump because they want to see the right thing happen. When CNN did its poll recently, they had a couple of different categories. One was leadership. In leadership, I win like forget it. Not even a contest. So much higher than everybody else, like 2 or 3, I don't know. You got all these cameras going, they can tell you. But leadership, way through. The other one is a little thing called the economy and jobs. Nobody close. The only thing they didn't love was my personality. Can you believe it? And I actually, no, it's the only thing. So here's what happened. So we went to Dallas, we went to Mobile, Alabama, we went to the USS Iowa, making speeches all over the place. Then we had the debate last night, which was exciting. And I said, you know what we're going to do tonight? No speech. Let's do question and answer. Do you want? So I want to just tell you, I'm going to say a few words, and then we're going to do question and answer. And you can make them vicious, violent, horrible questions, even though you're sort of probably on live television. How many cameras are lit? Yeah, there's a lot of them. Every time I speak now, it's on live television. You know why? It's a very simple business, ratings. If I didn't get ratings, those cameras would not be on, okay? They would not be on. So when you ask your question, remember you're on live television. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk for just a couple of minutes, military. We're going to make it so strong, so great, so powerful. And I always say, we'll probably never have to use it. Who wants to use it? We've got to have it. Because right now, what's happening in the world, we need that military, and we need that protection, and we're going to have it if Trump is elected president. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. As part of that, because I consider it part, but as part of that, we're taking care of our vets, okay? And the vets are going to be so happy. But they love me anyway. I don't have to do this. I'm just telling you. And I've been up here many times. Where's my man? Stand up. Have I been up here many times? With my guy. And we're going to take care of things. And so many vets in New Hampshire. And they're not treated right. They're not treated right. But they're not treated right anywhere. You know, 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, they had the longest wait in a waiting room that anybody can remember. Okay, think of it. The longest way, where they'd wait 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Not going to happen anymore, folks. Not going to happen anymore. Not going to happen. And we're going to come out with a plan, but one of the things we're going to do, when you're going to have to wait that kind of time, you're going to go to private practice, you're going to go to private hospitals, you're going to go to, even if it's public, we'll take care of costs. And believe me, it'll be less expensive and you'll get much better service. But you're not going to be waiting in rooms for 5 and 6 and 7 days to take care of a condition that can be done immediately. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The other thing I want to just dwell on for 2 seconds, and you've heard, but we are going to build a wall at the border. We're going to build a wall. And people are going to come into this country, but they're going to come in legally. They're going to be legal. They're going to come in legally into our country. So when I announced, as you know, a couple of months ago, I've been a politician for almost 3 months. Can you believe this? I never thought in a million years I'd be a politician. I know. That's the hard part. That's true. But we're running this time, and this time's going to be incredible. And by the way, you look not just at the New Hampshire poll that I told you about, 40%, but you look at all the polls. It's absolutely incredible what we're doing, and what we're doing really together. So immigration, and I've been saying it, and the politicians all talk, no action, although we have a lot of how many politicians are in this room? Raise your hand, because these guys are great, fabulous people. These are fabulous people right here. Stand up. It's my guy. He's been with me from the beginning, right? So he's, what? Okay, how about elected officials? How many elected officials? Stand up. All right, these are all fabulous people, especially you. So we are going to do something, and when the wall gets built, I've been saying Mexico is going to pay for it. Now, I love Mexico, and I love the Mexican people. I do business with Mexico. I do business with Mexican people and entrepreneurs. I have many, many people from Hispanics working for me. Many, many, many Hispanics. But you know what? The problem is, whether it's China or Japan or Mexico, they're outsmarting our leaders. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to let it happen. Okay? We're not going to let it happen. I asked about a week ago, I said, I want to know, what is the trade deficit? United States trade deficit. What is it with China? It's almost $400 billion a year. We're talking about a year. In other words, we're losing almost $400 billion. That's only China. In Japan, it's about close to $75 billion every year. And it's been pretty steady. It's going up, of course, because, of course, why wouldn't it? They get smarter, we get dumber. So it's getting worse. So then we get to Mexico. And, with Mexico, it's about $45 billion. Could even be now more than that. So everybody says, now watch these politicians. I see even the people I'm competing against, the so-called candidates. You saw them last night. Some are very nice, by the way. But you look at it and you say, and they say to me, you can't really do that. Why would Mexico pay? They won't pay. They'll never pay. Then I say, why wouldn't they pay? They owe us, and just think of it. We send hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into Mexico. You have a huge problem at the border where the cartels, the drug cartels, pour in with drugs, pour out with money. So they come in, not a good deal. We're not making a good deal there. But they are coming in with hundreds of, you have to see this, the numbers. They're staggering. Get shipped all over the United States. And then people say, oh, the wall doesn't work. You ask Israel whether or not a wall works. Believe me, a wall properly done, a Trump wall works. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. But, these guys, the politicians, and they're politicians, so I understand. I understand where they come from. My whole life I've dealt with politicians. They'll say, you can't get Mexico to pay for the wall. It'll never work. And I say, why? Well, it just doesn't work. Why would they do that? I say, why would they do it? Because we're losing almost $50 billion. Think of it. $50 billion a year on trade. Why wouldn't they do it? It's peanuts. They say it's going to cost 10 or 12. But that's for people that never built anything. These are people that have no idea. You'll do it for much less. The difference is it'll be bigger and better and stronger, and people aren't going to Home Depot and buying a ladder and walking right off. Not this wall. Not this wall. And by the way, this wall is going to have a big, beautiful open gate. We're going to have a nice opening, and when people want to come into this country legally and they want to go through the process, and it's going to, we all welcome them. Is that a correct statement? I mean, we welcome. And when someone goes to Harvard and they're number one in their class, or Stanford, or the Wharton School of Finance, or Yale, or any of them, and they do great, and then we throw them right out, and they go back to a country, and they try and compete, and they do very successfully. We want to keep those people. We want to keep people of talent. We want people of great talent. So we've got a plan in terms of illegal immigration. And remember this, when I first announced, and this was an incredible 2 weeks, believe me, Rush Limbaugh said, I have never seen anybody receive more incoming, a word I never heard before. Incoming means really bad press. I mean, it was incoming. But he said, I've never seen anything like it. And then he doubled down. I doubled down, and it's true. And he said, nobody would have done that, because I knew the problem. I knew what was happening. And we have tremendous crime, whether it's Kate in San Francisco, whether it's Jamil in Los Angeles, whether it's the woman 2 weeks ago who was killed in California, a 66-year-old veteran who was raped and sodomized and killed, unbelievable, by an illegal immigrant. And it's just not going to happen anymore, folks. You know, it's not going to happen anymore. We're going to have a border. And we're going to get the gang members out of here fast. You know, you got a lot of gang members that are illegal immigrants. You go to Chicago and different places. You got a lot of these are tough dudes. We're going to get them out of here so fast your head will spin, all right? Your head will spin. So I'm really honored by the crowd, and we're going to have some fun now, because instead of making a speech, which I've been doing over and over and over, I want to take questions. Don't we like that, right? Okay. All right, let's start with this group right over here. Come on. Okay, this man, I like this guy.
From White Plains. Amen. Okay. We have a problem in this country. It's called Muslims. We know our current president is one.
Right.
You know he's not even an American.
We need this
birth
question.
certificates,
This is the
man.
first question.
But anyway, we have training camps growing where they want to kill us.
Mm-hmm.
That's my question. When can we get rid of
We're going to be looking at a lot of different things. And, you know, a lot of people are saying that, and a lot of people are saying that bad things are happening out there. We're going to be looking at that and plenty of other things. Okay, go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, I definitely got to ask you a good veteran question. Welcome, first of all, to New Hampshire. Donald, last night was a disgrace. CNN did not touch on any of the issues that are going on with veterans' health care.
It's true.
Women veterans'
That's
health
true.
care.
I actually asked him about that. There wasn't one question relating to the veterans. That's true.
Did anyone even ask them why? I know that's a Clinton News Network. Is it that they don't like veterans? Or
You know what? There was
on?
not one question relating to that, and not too much on the military, by the way, but nothing relating to the veterans. Those days, believe me, are over. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Trump. Thanks
Hi.
for being here. The economy and job market is a big issue. I just finished my master's degree, and now during my job search, I'm told I'm either overly or underly qualified. I believe the unemployment rate is skewed. What can you do to improve the job market for people like me, qualified, talented, educated U.S. citizens?
You know, it's such a question. I get it all the time. It's an amazing question. One of the things we're doing, we'll be taking our jobs back from China and Japan and all of these other places that have been ripping us for years. I've been talking about this for 10 years, 15 years. No politician sees it. We're bringing our jobs back here. We're bringing our manufacturing back here. One of the things, and I will tell you, it's probably maybe the question, other than the vets, maybe it's the question I get asked the most, okay? And that's people, young, beautiful, great people, they go to college, in many cases borrow a lot of money to get through college. They're so proud of themselves. They do well. They're good students. They work hard. They get out. They can't get a job. with Trump? You know, there's an expression, I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that. That's what you need. Okay.
Can you hire me, please?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Then we're going to go right around here. We'll go around. Don't worry about it. A lot of people with hands up. Okay, let's go.
Mr. Trump, I was wondering when we can get together and work on the unsafe conditions at the Seabrook plant. It's been a month since I gave you that information.
I remember that. I remember you gave it.
And I think you and I should have a press conference because both governors in Massachusetts and New Hampshire aren't protecting the first responders. And I would like to work with you on it.
Okay, we'll take a look at it. We're going to look at it. Go ahead. Next, back here. Go ahead.
The United States doesn't have that good of a record there.
Go ahead.
So I have a question about the Trump wall.
Right, Trump wall.
When it comes to paying off debt.
Trump wall? He goes, see, that's what's going to happen.
Hey.
That's why I'm going to make this wall so beautiful, because when I'm gone, they're going to probably change the name to the Trump wall. I've got to make it beautiful. I've got to make it big and powerful and beautiful. Go ahead, Tommy.
Okay.
Tell me, and by the way, he said Trump wall, I didn't.
On that point, so the United States, we don't have such a good record when it comes to paying off debt, right? We all know.
Not such a good one. No, we owe 19 trillion. I would say we're not doing too well.
Exactly. So how is it that we're going to expect Mexico to repay their debt?
Because they make a fortune off us. They make a fortune. They make so much money. They're taking our business. You know, Nabisco
We
is
also
now
borrow
moving.
a lot
Wait a
and we don't
minute.
pay it
Wait.
off.
Do you like Oreos? The cookies, right? I'm not eating Oreos anymore. Nabisco is closing their plant, a big plant in Chicago, and they're moving it to Mexico. Ford is building a $2.5 billion plant in Mexico. Mexico's doing very well. We love Mexico, but they're doing very well. We need leaders that can deal with them and deal with all the other countries, and not just the three I named. We need leaders that are smart and tough and cunning. You know, I have Carl Icahn lined up. I have some of the greatest business leaders in the country lined up. Really tough, smart people. And they're going to help us, and they're going to go and negotiate, and we're going to make great deals, and we're going to bring jobs back so that you can get a job. Okay? You like that? Okay. Come on, over here. Question. Yes, sir. Go ahead with the hat.
Welcome back to New Hampshire.
Thank you. You think it's hot enough in this place? Man. This, you know, last night was pretty hot. This blows it away. Go ahead.
I applaud the gentleman who brought up the Muslim training camps here in the USA. The FBI knows all about that.
Right.
But America has also guns pointed at ordinary citizens here. One of the.
Don't get nervous. You're in about 7 television networks. Don't get nervous.
One of the bureaus is the.
Don't joke.
Bureau of Land Management.
Go ahead.
And the agriculture. Now they're going into different ranches, shutting them down.
Right, that's right.
Overregulation, but they seem to be pointing a gun to make sure they get their fees. This is our own government putting us at siege. How can we get in and stop this?
Well, so many things are going to change. You know, these are regulations, and but so many things. That's one. You know, one of the things, being in real estate, we have Army bases, Navy bases. So many are for sale. And so many have been sold over the last short period of time. And you say, how many can we sell? I see it all the time. They come across my desk. So many. Things are going to change. Okay, go ahead. You had a question over there? Go ahead. Go ahead, you. Young, handsome guy. Go ahead.
This gentleman, Daniel Tabis, was a friend
Daniel
of mine.
Tabis was a great man.
He's also
my friend. He was my friend. He passed away. He was my friend.
He's one of America's rags to riches stories.
It's true.
I think that America's kind of lost that American dream. What can Donald Trump do to bring that back?
So Dan Tabis is from Philadelphia, became a big banker, but a really good banker, a real banker. And he was a friend of mine. He passed away a few years ago, and he was a very, very successful guy and a great guy, and you're right about it. Look, we will bring the American dream back, that I can tell you. We're bringing it back, okay? And I understand what you're saying. And I get that. I get that from so many people. Is the American dream dead? They're asking me the question, is the American dream dead? And the American dream is in trouble, that I can tell you. okay? He said it's on life support. It's in trouble. But we're going to get it back, and we're going to do some real job. How about the men with that beautiful red hat? Stand up. Stand up. What a hat. What does that say on it? Wow. Make America great again. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Mr. Trump, can you please explain your position on the Second Amendment?
On say what?
On the Second Amendment.
Second Amendment, all for it. You need the protection. You know, we had a incident in New York which was very interesting. The two prisoners 6 months ago, 7 months ago, that escaped from a maximum security prison, a real beauty in New York, they escaped. And they went up, and people were really scared. These were killers and tough cookies. And a man and a wife were in the home, and the wife was totally anti-gun. She hated that the husband had guns. And the guy was pro. He was a big Second Amendment guy. He was pro. And all of a sudden, they're waiting, and these two tough cookies, tough guys, bad guys, are somewhere around their home within a little bit. And she all of a sudden now is totally pro because she felt she was so happy that her husband had guns. And they had the gun on the table and the gun they were carrying. And you know what? They never had to use it. They never had to use it. Because remember, only the bad guys use it. But they were secure. And now she's bigger than the husband in terms of wanting that. So I think that's pretty much what you want to hear. No, 100% pro Second Amendment. Yes, sir, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. Trump, I'm a veteran of both Iraq and Afghanistan, and I've seen...
Good. Wow. Good shape.
Thanks.
Were you hurt at all? Were you wounded ever? Were you ever wounded? You look good.
An IED blast and a couple ground incidents.
Well, you look great. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've seen a lot of human suffering, both on the Iraqi side and the Afghani side. What, if anything, should the U.S. be doing for the humanitarian crisis that's happening in Syria right now?
Well, look, you have a crisis that's massive. And I'm getting that question a lot as of about 2 weeks ago, where you have hundreds of thousands of people. But you know, there comes a point, and we all have to have heart, and I think I have as big a heart as anybody, but there comes a point where this country has to say we have to get our own act together. We have to do it. The other thing is, when you're looking at ISIS and all of the problems that are being caused over there, you say to yourself, well, what happens if a lot of these people are Al-Qaeda, ISIS? You know, you could have 15 different things occurring. You don't know. They don't know anything about them. Now, with all of that being said, Europe, they got to help themselves. Every once in a while, they're going to have to help. Can't always be the United States. We have our bridges, our roads, our tunnels. We have problems here. We owe so much money. You know, we owe Japan $1.4 trillion. Think of it. They sell cars by the thousands. They come off, I saw boats 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles. Thousands of cars all over the place. We owe them money. How do you do that? They're selling to us. We owe them money. Very simple. We have people that aren't very smart. China, we owe them the same amount of money, 1.4. Now it's up, $1.4 trillion. We got to straighten out our own country. With that being said, you have the Gulf states, very rich, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain. They take nobody. They don't want to have anybody, okay? They don't want to have anybody, all right? Nobody. You have Europe. You have all these places. They got to help. Now, what I do like is a safe zone. You know, get a lot of sand in Syria, right? I do like the concept of a safe zone where you put them there, you build it out, you have security, you create a little bit of an environment maybe until they can ultimately go back to their homes, which most of them really want to do. They're great people. I mean, they're caught in this horrible conflict. But the concept of safe zone is something that really makes sense. Probably they even like it better. They stay, and we help them. And we help, but we have to help Europe. And the Gulf states have to contribute. You know, Saudi Arabia before the oil price, but, you know, in all fairness, so now it's a little bit less. Saudi Arabia was making so much money beyond anything and beyond anybody's comprehension. All of these countries have to get together, and they have to fund it. We can do something, but we have to get other people to help us. We can't be the patsy every time there's a problem. And in the meantime, our airports are third world. Our bridges are falling down. You see the safety record on our bridges, like 62% are in danger. Our roads are collapsing all over the country. We are a mess. So we want to build our country, and we want to help people on a humanitarian basis, but we have to do some things to help ourselves. I mean, it's time maybe for us to help ourselves. Okay, in the back, go ahead, in the back. Let's go. Then I'm going to these people that have the lousy seat. They're looking at the back of my head. But they see that it's real. That's okay.
Hello, Mr. Trump.
Okay, go ahead. Give me a question.
Do you plan to visit with the Pope when he comes into Philadelphia?
Well, the Pope believes in global warming. You do know that, right? Hey, in this room, it's so hot in here, maybe I'll start to believe it myself. This room is hot. This room was not designed. The air conditioning was not designed for this many people.
Involved shooting near 12th Street.
No, I like the Pope. A lot of personality. Good man. Good man. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay.
My name is Helena Sorensen, and I have a house here in Hampton.
Good.
I've worked very hard all my life.
Good.
My parents came over during the Berlin airlift in March of 1950. When they landed, they both had to work in the mills. My father became a carpenter, put us through school, and here we are, working hard, getting Social Security, but my problem is that the people that are coming over here, they're landing on the shore, they have no problem going in, they get food stamps, they get housing, they get electric, they get all of this, and it's coming from our Social Security money.
I know.
And we're getting nothing, nothing.
She's getting more and more excited. Look at that.
And Carly Figurina.
You're right.
Carly Figurina, I watched her debate yesterday.
I tell people.
She put our company, Lucent Technology, in the ground.
Carly Fiorina,
We were forced to
say it again,
retire.
because people might as well hear it. I mean, people have to learn. I thought I'd wait a couple of days before I expose her business failure, but honestly, it's so ridiculous. Go ahead, tell me.
Our stock, I invested in my stock. I worked for the company for 37 years.
And that was
I
Lucent.
Forced to retire.
Lucent.
Yes, Lucent.
And headed up by who?
Well, Carly.
That's right.
Okay,
That
Carly.
was before Hewlett-Packard.
Before Hewlett-Packard, I was buying stock to put into my retirement at $87 a share. When I was forced to retire almost 15, 16 years ago, my stock wasn't worth 25 cents. I lost almost $500,000. That's what I planned on retiring, and I got nothing.
Yeah. Well, you know, the Carly thing is sort of amazing because a lot of people don't get it. Because Lucent was a disaster, you know.
Yes.
Lucent was a company that she ran prior to Hewlett-Packard. When she bought Compaq, she was heading up Hewlett-Packard for a little while, very short while, and then made the decision to buy Compaq Computer, I guess. And people that worked there said that company was such a great company until she got involved and until she went out and she made this horrible acquisition. And it just has destroyed the company, Hewlett-Packard. In fact, yesterday on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, big story, main story, that Hewlett-Packard, that they're dropping about, 30,000 jobs now. They're still recovering. They may never, who knows if they're ever going to recover. But, and then everyone's saying she made a good speech yesterday. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. But at some point, people are going to see, and I think it's going to be a very big roadblock, you know. Now, when you look at Trump, I built an unbelievable company, tremendous net worth, which I don't want to talk about other than to say it's the kind of mentality you need in this country, at least for a period of time. At least. And you know, as a businessman, I helped Democrats, I helped Republicans, I helped whoever because I did everything. I used all of the laws of the land. I'd buy a company, I'd throw it into a chapter, I'd chapter it, you bankrupt it, you beat the hell out of the banks. That's like I was a businessman. I have to do that. And by the way, you have many people in my position where they do the same thing, but nobody talks about it. I mean, I'll give you a list of names. In fact, we're writing up the biggest business leaders in the country have all done the same thing, and nobody ever talks about it. But I've done great, and that's the kind of thinking you're going to have to need. And you know what? We'll make it rich again. We'll make it fantastic again. I'll leave, and then you know what's going to happen? Somebody else can blow it. But we have to save our country. So with Carly, She did a terrible job at Lucent. She did a terrible, terrible, terrible job at Hewlett-Packard. Terrible job. Stories have been written that are legendary. The head of the Yale Business School, Jeffrey Sonnenberg, you know who he is, right? Right? He wrote a story that was so brutal. And I mean, people are going to have to read this. They're going to have to read it. I just don't see how she can get over that hurdle. In addition to which, she cut thousands and thousands of jobs, and they're still cutting them. And bottom line, you know what? She made a horrible purchase because the compact purchase was a disaster. She made a horrible purchase. But a lot of people don't know, before Hewlett, you had Lucent. And Lucent probably was just as bad, if not worse, relatively. Okay, yes.
Hi, Mr. Trump. I have not a question, but I just want you to know about the nightmares that I have. ISIS beheading Rochester's young Foley. I'm having horrible visions of people I know and, you know, everyone being loaded up into boxcars, you know, like another Holocaust. I just want you to know about that. You're welcome.
All right, it's past 9 o'clock, which means it's time to wrap up Fox 10 News Now's nighttime edition. I'm so excited that I got to spend my evening with you. Thank you so much for the pleasure. We saw some of Donald Trump's Q&A. If you'd like to watch it in its entirety, it's in one of the earlier videos from today. We got to see Hillary's Q&A for the first time in New Hampshire. She was supposed to be in Atlanta for some reason today. I don't know why she changed her mind and ended up in New Hampshire, but that was a headline. And we went to Kentucky, and we saw a lot of really amazing local Fox 10 Phoenix packages. Fox 10 is on right now, our local television broadcast. John Hook is back with Kari Lake. We've got some of my favorite reporters on the beat tonight that you can take a look at. Love Nicole. I've seen her walking around here. So turn on Fox 10 if you're local. If you're not local, you can head on over to fox10phoenix.com and stream our local television news broadcast. You should download our app. It's free to receive news alerts. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. I'm Kinsey Schofield. I'm excited to see you again tomorrow. It's Friday. That's very exciting. Thank you, Tess. I love your hearts. Thank you, Ale, always. But we will look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. We're on 10 a.m. unless there's breaking news, and we'll start the stream early, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow, Monday through Friday. If this is your first time visiting us, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and you can enjoy Fox 10 News Now all the time. So thank you for being with me this Thursday. It's Throwback Thursday. I will see you tomorrow.